Our next panelist is going to be Holly Baird. So over to you, Holly.
Great. Okay. Hi, I'm Holly. I live in Marlow in the far, far east of Victoria. And I'm a super enthusiastic amateur diver and nudibranch hunter. I'm not a marine scientist or anything like that. I'm just a scuba diver with a camera. So I'm just going to have a little bit of a chat about the nudibranchs that we find here east of Lake Centrance. Okay, so yeah, I'm based in Marlow. Our local dive sites are at Cape Conran, which I guess maybe some of you have dived at before, and if you haven't, I highly recommend it. We've got like a vast array of different habitats that are all got a little bit of something different. Our local marine sanctuary is Beware Reef Marine Sanctuary, which is about 3 kilometers off the beach here at Cape Conran. It's sort of at the confluence of the East Australian Current and Bass Strait, if that makes sense. And so there's a lot of quite unique species and habitats out there. And also we dive a little bit at Mallacoota when we can. And Gabo Island is our nudie hunting hotspot there. So yeah, so there's lots of spots to dive and plenty of slugs to find. And I'm just going to run through a few of our favorites. We have Aphallodorus Benetti, which we call him our house nudibranch. He's, again, I've only read these names in books. I don't have a Latin speaking background, so you'll have to excuse my pronunciation. I hope I've got him right. We call this one our house nudibranch. We find it on almost every dive and in lots of different spots around, especially around Cape Conran and at Beware Reef. Got some fun pictures here of, I think he looks like he's making a speech, the one on the left, and a mating pair, and yeah, a couple of examples. So that would be our most common nudibranch here in the east. Easy to spot because it's got a beautiful bright color and it's a medium size, maybe 30 to 40 millimeters long. So that's a fun one to find here. This big yellow meaty one is, as far as I know, an undescribed species, and I call him Aphallodorus Species Rb1 because that is what my book says. I think that it has different names depending on which paper you read and which book you have. He's very common around Cape Conran here and out at Beware Reef. I think this one was actually originally found by the Friends of Beware Reef group, who were they're a local citizen science group, and I think that they were the first ones to find this, and it's still yet to be described. Again, an easy one to find because it's quite big, 70 to 80 millimeters in length, and it's a big peachy yellow color with purpley brown rhinophores and gills. And there's just some examples there of, on the left is just a regular Aphallodorus Rb1. And on the right, I think the one at the top looks like you might be able to see, looks like he's had his gills perhaps nibbled by a fish. And the one on the bottom right is a funny, I guess, a congenital defect. This one's got the 2 rhinophores coming out of the one pocket. Maybe if someone could pop some comments about that one. I don't really know what's going on there. I just thought it was interesting and popped him in. We also find quite a lot of, again, Ceratosoma Ammonium, a really striking and a fairly large nudibranch, maybe around 40 to 50 millimeters long. So it's quite easy to spot. Some examples there of Ceratosoma Ammonium. We often find this one, yeah, in all of our dive sites again. So he's a fairly fun one to find. I think that in Port Phillip Bay and definitely around Port Welshpool, where I've dived before, the Ceratosoma Brevi Cordatum is super common, and it's a pinky color there. I read in my book that it's Victoria's most common large nudibranch, but we don't find it that commonly here in the east. I think what's interesting about this one for me is that here in the east there are some color variations compared to what we're seeing in Port Phillip Bay. The one in the picture I found at Gabo Island, and it's quite a purpley darkish color. I think the guys who are finding them down there more regularly think they're gray. And at Cape Conran, often it's a more peachy color rather than the red color. So I thought that was an interesting point of note. This one I've only found a couple of times around Gabo Island and Mallacoota. When I've tried to research which species this one is, the best I could come up with was that it's Aphallodurus Lactuosa, which is commonly found in New Zealand. I'm not sure how often it's been recorded here in Australia, but apparently the yellow rhinophores and gills are characteristic for this species. So I thought that was an interesting one to pop in. Now, I'm not sure how to say this, but I'll give it a go. Olivia Ianthina. I believe until recently he was believed to be restricted to the Sydney area, but we found this one quite a few times at Gabo Island and around Mallacoota. I haven't seen it yet at Cape Conran or Beware Reef. This one it's also called the blue dragon, I guess because it's of its shaggy bright blue appearance, and it's super interesting because it has symbiotic zooxanthellae, again pronunciation not sure, but that allows the nudibranch to harness the energy from the sun to produce its own food. So it's basically a solar powered slug, which is pretty exciting. Found once only at East Cape Conran. This one's he's definitely a construction worker nudibranch with high vis, Diversidoris Sulfuria. Just threw him in for a bit of variation. Incredibly cryptic. I've only found this one 3 or 4 times. I believe that it's reasonably common that he eludes us often, very cryptic. This is Australis ornata. So I found this one further east, so down at Pearl Point, which is almost to Point Hicks from here, so further east towards Mallacoota, and I found him at Mallacoota and at Gabo Island. Quite tricky to see, and when I have observed it, it's because it's been moving from A to B and not just sitting still. So that was how I picked up the tentacles and the rhinophores moving across the reef. Otherwise quite tricky. I guess you can see from these examples that it's fairly well camouflaged, whatever the substrate. So that was a fun one to throw in. This is one of the tiniest nudibranchs I've ever managed to take a photo of, Traponia Brunia, a teeny weeny little nudibranch. I think he only gets as big as 10 millimeters long, and he looks a bit like cookies and cream to me. The day that I took this photo, I was so proud of myself because I've found this teeny weeny nudibranch and managed to get a photo of it while completely missing out on the whale that swam right over my head. But I've still got a nice nudibranch photo for it. And my last example that I've got here from East Gippsland is Veconia Closiurum. I've only found this one once out at Beware Reef. Again, another high vis one, and I think it's slightly different to what's in the books. The examples I've seen when I've been researching have been a darker, more brownish color, and this one was a very bright high vis yellow. So it's quite easy to spot sitting out on the reef. And I managed to snap a little picture of it. So that is a crash course on the nudibranchs here in East Gippsland. I hope you've all enjoyed.
Thanks, Ellie. And yeah, I do think a few of us, especially those of us that are normally stuck in kind of the center of the state, have some questions around where to go. So we'll keep an eye on that. So thanks again, Holly.
Thanks so much, Nicole.